come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country.
Trump received target letter from Biden's DOJ, says they will arrest and indict him over January 6th. Trump has come out and put a statement out. He says, when you get these, it always means they're going to indict you. They let you know you're the target of a grand jury. Report to it within 4 days. So this is another Rubicon moment. This is another crossing the line moment. And all I can tell you is these people are incredibly dangerous and incredibly bold and incredibly insane.
Come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country.
That was President Trump on January 6, 2021. I was there in the second row right in front of him. And we had every intention of marching peacefully, as we'd done in hundreds of marches around the country and several to the Capitol just in the months before, to then show the world that Biden couldn't get a big crowd at his events, that we had big crowds at our events, and push for what the Democrats had done many times before, the challenging of an election in the U.S. Senate with a 10-day investigation. Could play you hours of compilations of them going back over the decades, but just 8, 9, 10 years ago saying this election's a fraud, we're challenging the electors, we're bringing forth our own electors. You have the Democratic Party of the New York Times, Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, saying a month before the election in 2020 that we don't care if he wins, we're not going to accept the results, and we're going to have our own inauguration somewhere else in the country for Joe Biden. Then they said, oh, the red mirage, it'll look like he's going to win. And then he'll really lose weeks after from the mail-in ballots. Wink, wink. And the rest is history. So now Trump has come out this morning in a press release. It's on Infowars.com. Let's put the live show feed up because it boils it down the best. And said he's been told by the FBI and Justice Department in a targeting letter that he is the main target of a grand jury, that he has 4 days to be ready to appear before the grand jury. And at that point, they'll probably sneak attack him and indict him and arrest him on the spot and may even try to put him in the D.C. jail. They own D.C., 94% Democrat. They could, again, send a newborn baby to the gas chamber if the Democrat ordered a jury to. Trump received target letter from Biden's DOJ, says they will arrest and indict him over January 6th. Just like he said Alvin Bragg was going to indict him and have him turn himself in, and it happened. And just like he said, again, they would do it with the presidential document issues. Because after all, can't have a president with any presidential documents. It belongs to bureaucracy, not to the president we elected. And now he's saying this is imminent. This is beyond a constitutional crisis, ladies and gentlemen. This is the globalists completing the coup that they've been involved in over this country for a long time. They have control of the federal government. They have control of many state governments. They have control of 900 plus district attorneys, county attorneys, 20 plus state attorney generals. But they want to complete the total control with their surveillance and their censorship and the pushing by the puppet president, Biden's just Obama's puppet, that anyone challenging elections, anyone challenging open borders, anyone challenging any type of tyranny is a white supremacist and is a terrorist and is an enemy. So they're outlawing their political opposition in front of the whole world. Right now, they're converting us to a classical tyranny. Our country is occupied by an out-of-control bureaucracy that controls the intelligence agencies, the Pentagon, almost everything at the top, who have been put in positions by the Larry Finks of the world that control this nation through fraud. Their agenda is completely unpopular. Their agenda is completely illegal. But nevertheless, they are moving forward with it, not just here, but around the world. This is a huge deal. We knew this was coming. Just 2 weeks ago, it broke in the Washington Post, a lengthy 20-page article saying that the D.C. prosecutors had come to the Justice Department a year and a half ago and said, we want to indict Roger Stone and Alex Jones, claiming that we got orders from Trump to attack the Capitol with no evidence. And the DOJ said, Merrick Garland said, no, you didn't complete evidence from the bottom to the top that they were connected to Trump. We're going after Trump for challenging the election, period, and saying that that was an attempt to set up a coup d'etat. And so with no evidence, they're preparing to indict the president. They indicted him in D.C., but the Supreme Court has ruled that you have to try somebody where their crime was committed. So he supposedly has the stolen documents that were his at Mar-a-Lago. So the nearest federal courthouse is in Miami. And so that's where that trial's happening. And by luck of the draw, it's a judge that Trump put in that hopefully is fairer. So they're a little panicked by that. We're talking about indicting him in New Jersey, where he had documents at his golf club. And of course, the January 6th indictment is going to be the key one. And then they have to legitimize that he's really a terrorist and have his supporters supposedly stage events. And that's when you're going to see January 6th on steroids, where the deep state, the NGOs, stage massive shootings, massive bombings, chemical attacks on apartment buildings, chemical weapons dumped in lakes. I'm giving you a smattering of what they're, from my research, up to. All to be blamed on us. Then they cut one of the main power grids off, one of the big six, and blame it on us. And I told you before they floated that last month that's what I would do if I was them. Because I can already see the pre-programming that power outages are imminent, cyber attacks are imminent. They don't want to actually attack the infrastructure with 50 caliber rifles or something that the Congress has had hearings on that could easily be done with any caliber rifle, quite frankly. It would just take more rounds with a smaller caliber. 100 people put in the right places around the country in 2 hours could shut down most of the grid, shooting the key transformers. And they know that. They should be shielded. They could shield them for $100 million. Just put a little bit of armor around each one. But they don't do that. They've decided to leave that there. But they're not saying that's how they're going to attack, because that would actually take the power off. The globalists want the power for now, literal and figurative. So instead, I predicted they would not say it was going to be weapons or bombs taking out the key control centers around the country, the switch centers. It would be a cyber attack blamed on the Russians working with Trump supporters. And then sure enough, I've been saying that for 2 years. Sure enough, they come out last month and say, FBI bulletin, the Trump supporters working with the Russians are going to shut the power off using a cyber attack, and then they'll have to cut the internet off. I predicted this too. The internet kill switch, so that the evil right-wingers can't attack through the internet and keep the power off. And then, oh my gosh, we've got to have an internet ID after they turn the power back on. Only if you sign up online, sign up at an approved government site that you'll be able to go to, will you then get access to the web. And now they've got the internet ID in place. Now they've got the social credit score, carbon tax, vaccine passport, node, skip this break, in place. And so they know exactly what they're doing. And I specifically laid all this out from their pre-brainwashing. I could see the next few pieces they would lay, and now they've laid those next few pieces. The only thing left now is for them to pull it off. Now, remember, the average leftist, the average person out there is still not awake. And if they don't have internet or they don't have power, they're going to blame whoever the government and the media blames to get that back on. Just take the shot and they'll let you out of the house. Just stay in your house for 15 days and they'll let you out. Oh, sorry, it's 2 years. Just take the shot. One shot, you're covered 100%. Sorry, it's 2. No, I'm at 3, 5, 8, 9, 10. It's a weekly shot. I'm sorry, and it doesn't protect you, but I forget why I'm taking shots. So it's all about roping the dope, because if you remember, the general public, the way television's been designed the last 70 years, this is on record, is to shorten attention spans down to less than 12 seconds. The average person has less than a 12-second attention span. A goldfish has a little over that, 14. So you've seen like Dory, who's not a goldfish, but it's a similar fish that doesn't have an attention span. That's a known species that doesn't remember who you are second to second. The public, most of the public is not even mentally retarded. They're just been brainwashed and programmed to have no attention span. That's why they hate the clips of me 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, predicting this word for word, because people see those clips and it's a younger Alex Jones. They see the date and they go, well, that's exactly what happened. How the hell does this guy know this? Well, because the enemy thinks you're a goldfish and has a plan. I'd liken it to the fictional movie. What was the fictional movie where the aliens are able to time travel back in time every time they start losing a battle and then end up defeating the humans? They land in Paris. It's a Tom Cruise movie. What's it called? No, that's not what it's called. Oh, they changed the title from Day After Tomorrow to whatever it is. Live, Die, Repeat. Live, Die, Repeat. Yeah. So it's kind of the same deal. Someone without an attention span who doesn't access all their memory literally is like waking up new all the time. So the humans are always in the same position and wondering why the aliens are kicking their ass, because it turns out they've already had like 500 battles with us. And so in your memory, you think you're getting your ass kicked right away. No. They've got long-term memory. They've been strategically playing it out. All you got to do is access your long-term memory. All you got to do is start literally realizing they write books and white papers and say, we're going to take everything you got, we're going to cut your resources off, we're going to slowly starve you to death, but because you don't have a memory, we'll do it in steps, and you'll actually think we're the saviors as we take it away from you piece by piece by piece. I mean, folks, this is so simple. And the power of having a memory, the power of reading their plans, and then knowing they're going to carry them out, and being able to know what their next move is, we have their battle plan. But because you won't have a memory, or because you won't value having a memory, then what would happen? You see? But one character in this fictional world, Tom Cruise, for some reason, does have a memory each time he gets killed and remember. So one human has some weird evolutionary mind warp or something that he's able to psychically tune into the mothership alien pod brain. I'm going from memory, I only saw it once. I'm watching the movie again. And he's able to dial into the pod brain too, like the other aliens are. So one guy knows how to beat him just because he has the knowledge of their long-term plan. And folks, that's how this is, except this isn't a Tom Cruise movie. This is for real, okay? I mean, these people are literally putting chemicals in the food and water that sterilize you. They're literally putting up 5G that kills even the birds that live by and the bees, not to mention you. We are literally already in the boiling pot. They are already carrying this out. And I am sitting here like Tom Cruise in Day After Tomorrow, knowing the whole battle plan, knowing what's going on. We'll put its IMDb up. Edge of Tomorrow. So that's where we are. And it's time for people to realize we're not on the edge of tomorrow. We are on the edge of oblivion here. Because I understand, you want to go home and eat a good dinner. You want to go home and watch your Netflix show. You want to go home and have sex with your wife. You want to go home and play ping pong or video games or go to the gym. And that's all fine and dandy. But while you're doing that, the globalists have a 50-year plan, a 100-year plan, a 500-year plan, and they're carrying out this globalist plan against us. And we're now in the last 10% of the plan where they start cutting all the resources off and having us fight with each other as everything collapses. But let me just get back to what I was going to say. To have a president, now listen to me very, very carefully. All the evidence says Trump won the 2020 election by 15 points or so, but they were able, with tens of millions of mail-in ballots and the database that Zuckerberg spent hundreds of millions on of dead people and people that had moved out of the districts, they were able to then have safe houses all over the key battleground states, about 8 of them, go and fill out those with the people's info, get rid of the regulations. There has to be ID shown or signature verification, and they were able to steal it. After the polls closed, they were able to do it the next week. But that's not even the issue for debate. They censored the laptop. They blocked Republican information. They censored Trump supporters from going out and getting people to vote Trump. That was admitted election meddling. So they did steal the 2020 election any way you slice it. But now, undeniably, zero chance it's not happening. They are indicting over and over and over again someone who's getting 75% of the votes in major polls against all other Republicans. You got like 9 other Republicans running. Trump gets 75% against them in polls. He's 20 to 30 points, depending on the poll, ahead of Biden in every poll. At least 20 points ahead. Never in 100+ years of modern polling has anybody ever been 25 points ahead of the Democrat nominee or the Democrat president or the presumptive nominee. That is 100% bona fide, the real McCoy, not just election meddling, it is precluding you, they're saying, from being able to vote for this man. And Biden said in December last year, it doesn't matter what Trump does, we're not going to let him get elected, we're going to use constitutional means. Well, the only constitutional means are criminal. It's in the Constitution that if somebody can be impeached if they're involved in all these crimes. So they're impeaching him not through Congress. They're both of their impeachments failed. I think the public's so stupid they don't know that those failed. The House indicts you, the Senate tries you. It never got to the Senate. So they've already indicted him twice federally in Congress, and he beat those. And they had the fake Russiagate and all the rest of that crap. And then now they're bringing forward multiple federal indictments, state indictments, because Georgia's about to do it as well, not just New York with Alvin Bragg. I mean, this is coup d'etat. You always hear about third world countries where, well, the high court and the Congress have had the former president indicted during the campaign. And we all go, man, how dare them do that in Nicaragua or in some place like Venezuela. So you see the headlines, Trump target January 6th probe, indictment watch, Republicans debate impeaching Attorney General. Yes, that needs to happen immediately. We have to get back on the offense because people say, oh, that's meddling in government to impeach. No, that's Congress's power. This is the bureaucracy and the sitting president that stole the election, that couldn't get 10 people at his rallies, literally, going and shutting down the incredibly popular president they stole the election from. And if you doubt that, they had Elias, the Democrat lawyer, run around in 8 different states, 9 different states, and try to get courts to preclude Marjorie Taylor Greene and Gozer and a bunch of others from being able to run again, saying, because you were in the Capitol on January 6th as elected members of Congress, it's your fault protesters were there, by extension, guilt by association, so you can't run for Congress because you're winning by 20 points as MTG did. Well, Trump's set to win not by 20 points, 21 points, which is the largest winning margin for a Republican is MTG. She wins by the biggest landslide. And now Trump's got a bigger landslide ready, and they say, you can't have Trump. You can't have who you want. Even if I didn't like Trump, I would say this is wrong. I mean, I don't like Obama, and he was a horrible person, but he did get elected. He was popular. He was able to con people. That's not the case with Biden, and we all know that. And so the deep state is destroying our country. They're starting World War III. Trump has pledged to stop it. The U.S. runs it. Of course he can stop it. They're like, how are you going to stop it? Like that. He's pledged to control the border. He's pledged to bring jobs back. He's pledged to get legislation in so they can't force you to take shots. He says don't make the military take them. He's not perfect. But ladies and gentlemen, he's not out to get us. He isn't banning oil drilling all over the country and gas drilling and draining our strategic reserve down to almost nothing while asking Saudi Arabia to increase output at our expense. The globalists are trying to break our will, make us poor, to put us all on welfare, to run our lives. Cloward and Piven, that's their plan. And it is such a big deal. It is so unbelievably over the top and so tone deaf that this maniac Justice Department, with the above-the-law Biden and his son, the crackhead pedophiles, and the cocaine in the White House, and the Chinese spies, and the groping of kids in public, and just all the bizarreness. And then you've got them going after this straight-laced person compared to them, Donald Trump, with all these fake indictments. They are insane to try this. They are crazy. Do they think if he went up 10, 20, 30 points with the first indictment and the second indictment and the third, do they think when he's in front of a D.C. kangaroo operation, that circus? I mean, what do you think that's going to do? Well, I know what their plan is. Any way you slice it, the globalists will be destroyed by this politically, except the false flag. First press conference Biden had with Psaki, he said, anybody questioning open borders, the election, or forced injections or lockdowns is a terrorist. And our main directive for the agencies is to fight with the American people and to surveil them and go after them. And then he put it under U.S. directive in June of that same year, saying the American people are the number one enemy. What an incredible statement. I made a big deal about it. Now they've mainlined that, and they admit that. You go and you don't want your kid being taught how to have sex with adults. You don't want XXX child porn in your school. The FBI is coming after you. Well, you know what? Get all of us then. But see, they're going to cut the power. They're going to take the internet. They're going to make January 6th persecution of the American people look like child's play, because that was just the beginning to brand us as the enemy. And what was that based on? Provocateurs. The D.C. police attacking the Capitol Police dressed as Trump supporters. Antifa, same deal. Ray Epps orchestrating, in his own words, all of it. They're not going to, I don't believe they're going to indict Ray Epps. That's his lawyers saying that in a filing to make it sound like he was indicted. People believe he's been indicted now because you have a short memory. People tell me, no, Ray Epps was indicted. I go, I get my phone out and I go, no, his lawyers say they said he may be indicted. Oh, I thought he was indicted. See, it's all mind games. And even if they do, they'll drop the prosecution later because people know, wait, he's ramming signs into people. He's the first to break in. He says, go into the Capitol for days. He's there that day. And then the media says he's an angel, but Owen Schroyer's been charged at the Capitol outside trying to stop people getting in. So they'll probably will maybe indict him, but just on the surface, because they're getting ready to indict the President of the United States, who is the front runner against the Republicans and Democrats in the primary and general election. That is criminal. That is outrageous. And that on a scale of 1 to 10 on tyranny is a 10, baby. That is the end of the republic as we know it. But these cokehead maniac pedophiles that run the Justice Department at the top were put in there because they're full of hate of this country and bravada and chutzpah. And they're going for the jugular of this country right now. And when they're done setting off bombs and blaming it on the American people, they're going to take everything you've got, including your children's genitals. They're going to have lawnmowers out there just chopping your son's balls off. I mean, these are psychotic pedophiles. Mad dog, they want our blood.
Top scientists and researchers agree. We are being hit by toxic weapons in the food and water supply that are making us fat, sick, and stupid. It's time to fight back with Brain Force Plus from InfoWars, the next generation of advanced neural activation and nootropics. This new enhanced formula contains 20% more capsules per bottle and has been enhanced for maximum potency, containing a brand new ingredient called black pepper fruit extract for an added kick. The InfoWars crew and a team of scientists tested hundreds of different options before choosing the undisputed winning formula that is Brain Force Plus. Now is the time to secure your bottle and flip the switch for yourself. Supercharge your state of mind with Brain Force Plus and see why the InfoWars is powered by this key formula.
right, Roger Stone with the huge news that Trump is set to be indicted, according to Trump's lawyers and President Trump, as early as next week, maybe even tomorrow, as early as tomorrow, in the District of Mordor, hell on the Potomac, the incredibly rigged court system. This is just terrible news. But we knew it was coming. Jack Smith is a UN operative. He's one of the most overturned prosecutors in history because he engages in just witch hunt after witch hunt. But they chose him because he does engage in so much fraud and bullying of witnesses, blackmailing of witnesses, paying off witnesses. That's all coming out as well. So this is a very hardcore, serious group of criminals we're dealing with. And they've been tasked with completing their dictatorial takeover. And you're like, wow, they're really bold. Yeah, they've got the country under their control right now. They've opened the border up. They're involved in giant human trafficking, including children by the hundreds of thousands, many of which go into sex slavery. They don't do DNA testing of unaccompanied minors now, so they find them dead later, they know what happened, or they find them alive later. They're covering their tracks. They're as bad as it gets. They're totally selfish, wicked villains who don't care about you. They hate your guts. I hate the proverbial statement of, oh, you know, people in government and these bureaucrats and these globalists, they just don't care about us. Oh, they care about you deeply. They want to kill you. And I got stacks of articles of them admitting humans are scourges. If we can't kill babies in the womb, we're going to poison them later, or we're going to at least cut their genitals off. I'm going to play you the clips. Starting about 5 years ago, the left started saying, including Gloria Steinem, CIA officer, yeah, you know what? You say a baby's a human, they are, and I kill those little bastards, and I enjoy chopping up my children. And Peter Nygaard says, I get women pregnant with an artificial insemination, and at least once a week, I suck one of my children dry. We take that dead baby, and I suck all its juices out, and I inject it into my veins. I kill my children, I suck their juice. But vampires aren't real. You've got to come to grips that you haven't turned yourself over to evil, so you're like, why do they even like this stuff? Once you get into evil and you're predisposed to it, I guess genetically, culturally, there's no bottom, folks. So you're like, how evil do they get? Thomas Jefferson was asked, how evil can people get? And he said, as evil as good people let them. And there's letters back and forth, and they say, well, what do you mean as evil as we let them get? And he goes, well, you'll always have one generation of corruption that's pretty bad, but there's always a group worse that'll replace them, because evil won't constrain evil, only good will. So you're going to always basically develop a strain of evil that is so evil you can't even get your mind around it, and you're just dumbfounded. Like, you get women pregnant and then suck your babies dry and inject it into you? You make bioweapons in a lab and release it and then inject us with something that erases our immune system with an HIV spike protein? And you look at Fauci, he's like, yeah. And I mean, and if you have discernment, not just his actions, look, he's an evil little man. I mean, you wouldn't turn your back on him for a second. You wouldn't let him babysit your children. You wouldn't do business with him. I mean, you can look at him. He's a disingenuous, evil man. A lot of times the book does judge the cover, or a lot of times you do judge a book by its cover. So, Trump has come out and put a statement out. He says, when you get these, it always means they're going to indict you. They let you know you're the target of a grand jury. Report to it within 4 days. So Trump now reports to a D.C. hand-picked group, and it turned out in Roger Stone's trial, you name it, half the jury were Democratic Party operatives and were married to NSA officials that were Democrats and were posting on social media how they wanted to put Trump in prison. Should have been a total mistrial. Should have been the courts overturning Roger's conviction for lying to Congress, which he didn't do. And instead, Trump had to pardon him. The only thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke said something similar to Thomas Jefferson. All that evil men and tyrants see to flourish as the good men do nothing. That's Thomas Jefferson. Who came first, chicken or the egg? So this is another Rubicon moment. This is another crossing the line moment. And all I can tell you is these people are incredibly dangerous and incredibly bold and incredibly insane. And I pray for President Trump, and I pray for an accelerated awakening, and I pray for all the enemy's plans to be confounded, and that for all their crimes to come out, which is happening. There's not just evil in the universe. And they have really engaged in the dark arts here, and this is not going to end well for anybody. I mean, I can tell you right now, this is a gigantic, flaming disaster on 1,000 different fronts. And we'll open the phones up after Roger leaves us for the balance of the broadcast. He'll pop in for 30 minutes, start of the next hour. And so I'll give the number out when we're at about 12:06 when we come in to interview Roger. I'll give the number up. We'll get your calls all teed up. And we're going to talk about one subject, Republican crisis, the looming D.C. swamp indictment of President Trump, the tentacles of the swamp reaching out and grabbing him. What did Trump say on January 6th? We're going to play the clip in a moment. He said it over and over again. He said, we're going to peacefully and respectfully march down to our Capitol and let them know. And he'd been told that we had a stage at the corner, northeast corner by the Supreme Court on the Capitol grounds. And there was a stage set up there. And we just figured, well, the Secret Service would be there and the police would be there. And we showed up and there were like 50 police at the Capitol being attacked by a couple thousand people led by Ray Epps. And it turns out the D.C. police were involved attacking the Capitol Police. That's come out in Congress. And tear gas and everything. And they'd already got into the Capitol. And I said, you better get out of there. It's going to be Kent State. And it was Kent State. Ashley Babbitt and 4 other citizens got killed. But the truth didn't matter. They said 5 cops got killed that day. No cops got killed. And then they said by guilt by association, the million people stretched out from the Capitol down to the ellipse, that million plus people stretched out for miles, you were all guilty. And the NSA and private companies, data mined, whoever was in D.C., and people that were there for a wedding, and people that were there for business, they got raided by the police. Because you're all part of an insurrection. You were all there with Trump ordering you to attack. Here's Trump saying at his political rally that he set up, now let's peacefully march to the Capitol. And the globalists saw that weak point, and the Secret Service stood down. Trump's like, I'm going to my rally. I'm going to my speech. No, sir, you're not. The Capitol's been attacked. But the thing was, the Secret Service knew he was going. They knew it was all set up weeks before. They knew, but they withdrew the bureaucracy where I was counting on them, Trump was counting on them, and they did that. I'm not saying the rank and file Secret Service are involved, but we know the rest of the history. We were set up, and now they've got big enough balls in the rigged D.C. court to indict him for the federal false flag operation they ran on January 6th. Here's a clip of Trump.
Come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. Lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country.
All right, we're going to go to break. I'm going to come back and give you a little prelude to the other news we'll cover after Roger Stone leaves us and we take your calls. And it's crazy. It's wild. It's amazing. It's important. It's the real world. You're not tuned in to Fantasy World, Netflix, or HBO. You're tuned into the real world, Earth 2023. Stay with us.
I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year's going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm going to tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone, also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline.
I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up.
If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today. Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you going to do? What's the choice that you're going to make?